Thank you, Jenny. Hi, welcome. Thanks for coming today. And I understand that there's 7 folks on Zoom. So we're not going to see them. They're just going to be seeing this right up here, as you can see. And so more volume? Okay. All right, so a little more projection, I guess. Sounds good. Okay. Is that working better? That sound level? Okay, thanks, Amber. Like Jenny said, I got a master's in education. And I learned about this this movement work that actually engages different parts of the brain, and that's the intent of it, to actually bring the brain into we think of it as a 3-dimensional balance, basically, so that we think of the brain in three different dimensions. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So I've got a varied background in terms of education and counseling and computer work and lots of different things. The thing I've done the most is juggling. So I'm a juggler. I instruct juggling. Been doing that for over 50 years. Enjoy it a lot, and I found that discovered that it ties into this brain work a lot, because a lot of left and right side brain activities. So I have a question. What are you here for? So what drew you to this activity? And if you'd like to share, I'd love to hear it. So I have an idea of who's here and what.
I think the whole title of your presentation brought me here.
The whole title.
Mm-hmm.
So
The
engaging
calming,
your brain, calming,
yes,
and living in ease.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Great,
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else care to share what you're here? What drew you?
Anyone in the chat?
No? Okay.
Oh, we have someone in the chat.
Yeah.
And their answer is general interest in brain health.
In brain health. Okay, great. All right. Well, that's what we're here for, right? All right. So first thing I'm going to do is ask you to notice how you're doing right now. Okay. So noticing how you're feeling on the physical level. How's your body doing? Are there aches and pains, or is there, I'm feeling great, whatever it is. Emotionally, what are you feeling? How your feelings are. Feeling stressed, feeling upset, feeling happy, joyful, whatever it might be. And then on a mental level, what are you thinking about? What has your attention right now mentally? And then, on a spiritual level, if that's something that you participate in your life. So, and just notice that, and on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being, I probably should be in the emergency room right now, and 10 being, I'm at the top of my game, everything's good, okay? So just go ahead, just consider for yourself, notice what's going on for you, and give a number between 1 to 10 that is representative of how you are doing in general on all those levels. So, everybody have a number? Yeah, everybody's good? Okay, good. I'll leave that nearby. So, now we're going to do some activities. So this is an active participating lecture right now. So I'm going to ask you to participate. And the first thing we're going to do is sip some water. So if you have water with you, that's great. If you don't, there's some water on the back table. Thanks for bringing that. And if you'd like some water, just sip water, because water is a significant piece of our brain, of our whole body functioning. We all know that living in Arizona, we have to stay pretty hydrated all the time. So sipping water throughout the day is actually a good first step. And what we're going to do is there's going to be 4 activities. This is the first activity. and it's just simply sipping water. Of course, the brain needs it because you need it for those bringing oxygen into the brain, and also for that neurology to work inside the brain with all the electrical and neurological systems that take place. I'm not that detailed a scientist. These activities are all experiential, and my experience with them over the past 20, there's the volume, the past 20 years is, it has shown that it just, for me, my experience is that it makes a difference for me. So that's first activity. Second activity is a thing we call brain buttons. Okay, so first I'm going to direct you. It has 3 different parts, and I'm going to invite you to stand up for this, just because if you're able to stand up, I invite you to do that. And what it does, it's anytime we stand up, we're engaging our vestibular system, our balance system. And the more we do that, the more we practice that, the better we are at it. And we learned that a long time ago. And some folks are having to relearn it because of brain injury or things like that. But it's something that's significant. So there's 2 points that we're going to start with. And right below our collarbone, if you find your collarbone, just let your fingers slide down. And I'm hearing the mic there. And there's a soft spot between the collarbone and the second rib. So find those soft spots and just do a little bit of massage on that. Basically, it's just, okay. So just doing those points, and you can give it a good pressure. And there might be some sensitivity in those points. If there is, that's okay. The sensitivity will actually go away after you've done this a bit. I was a massage therapist and actually used this system back when I was doing that as well. So now I want you to make a C with one of your hands and do those 2 points with that C. It's on either side of the sternum, those soft spots. Okay. So the other hand now is going to go over our gravitational center. That's our belly button. Okay. And just notice, I just noticed in myself that I'm locking my knees. So just soften your knees and relax with that. And noticing is a big part of doing these activities, so are yourself. Okay, so I'm going to stop doing that myself, but y'all can keep doing it because it's interfering with the mic. So, but hand over the belly button. And then the third part is we're going to engage our eyes. Okay, so that part of our brain. And what we're going to do is going to keep your face pointing forward and let your eyes start over on the left-hand side and just track that a line. So you can do it with your finger like I'm doing right now. And that was just to give it a little demonstration. But now I'm going to move to the line that I see in the back there. So I'm going to let my eye track from left, as if I'm drawing with my, like my eye is a pencil and I'm drawing a line. So I notice my knees again. So soften the knees and just allowing that, drawing a line across that horizontal line that I'm looking at. And you can look at the screen, might be a good one, the bottom of the screen, top of the screen, whatever, wherever you want your eyes to be. And then when you get over to the right, allow your eyes to just track back over to the left. And notice if your eyes are jumping ahead or going backwards or just kind of like not focusing or whatever it might be. And just slow it down a little bit so that your eyes making and tracking a nice horizontal line from the back to the, or from side to side. Okay, and so, okay, and if you can engage that with your hand over your belly button and the massaging. Sorry that I wasn't demonstrating that. I'll pretend I'm massaging. So just doing that. Okay. All right. And any of these activities you do for as long as you want, as long as it feels good for you to do. If your hand's getting tired on one side, just switch to the other hand and just reverse that. Okay, so that was our second activity, and that was called the brain buttons. Okay, and the idea here is that there's, it's actually based on some model that a chiropractor developed as a self, taking care of self. And there's like points in the body that relate to like the acupuncture points. And it's more like shiatsu, which is thumb pressure. So, and that's what this particular point is. And these particular points are like a circuit breaker. So a circuit breaker being, if the electricity, if something's too much of energy coming in, it shuts down everything. So this is like opens that up again so that there's a nice energy flow in the body. Okay. So excellent. All right. Now the next piece that we're going to do is a movement piece. It's called the cross crawl. And I'm demonstrating it here. So I'm bringing my right arm across my midline and touching my left knee. And I'm bringing my left arm across and touching my right knee or thigh. So it's just going back and forth. This is called a cross crawl. And the idea here is that we're getting both sides of the brain engaged at the same time. So right brain controls left side, left brain controls right side. Doing them both together, we do a little bit of massage or the cross crawl here, getting the left brain and the right brain working together. The right brain being big picture in most people, and the left brain being the details. So getting a nice integration between those two pieces of our brain. So getting a good flow of energy. And again, the whole idea here is we think of the brain as three-dimensional, but we're not always working out of all three dimensions. And the idea of these activities is to integrate all three dimensions of the brain so that you have full access, basically. Okay. So a little more sipping water, and you can keep doing cross crawl as long as you want to. Yeah. And so the last activity is actually the one that was designed to do a whole three-dimensional balance in the brain, but it didn't always work for everybody. So the developers of this, Paul and Gail Dennison, had brought this, said, well, we should back up a little bit. So then they said, let's do cross crawl. And then that worked for some, but not everybody. So let's do brain buttons. Worked for some, and then sipping water. And he found that those three activities prior to this next activity we're going to do is called hookups, helped that to be to bring in that full integration. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring one foot in front of the other, and always doing things to take care of yourself. So if you notice your balance is off, doing that by holding on is a good idea. Or you can do this sitting as well. So however it works best for you. So one leg in front of the other, and that represents the back of the brain and the front of the brain, having an integration between those two. And then we're going to bring our arms up and just reach over top, grasp your fingers. So back of the palms together, right? Fingers, and then bring it in. Just fold in inside itself. And notice your shoulders. If you're holding up here, just relax it down. Notice your knees, soft knees, so that you're not locked in the back there. And then there's a third part to this as well. And the third part is bringing the tongue to the roof of the mouth on your breathing in. And when you exhale, just relax the tongue. So, and this is called the hookups, and just relaxing and noticing what this is like. And like I said, you can do it sitting down if you care to, so you don't have to be standing for this. I often sit like this just as a part of meditation. And if you want to explore your vestibular system a little bit more, you can close your eyes to see how your balance is. And if you notice anything off, just don't do that. Okay, open your eyes again. Some folks use their eyes to establish their vestibular balance. And with your eyes closed, you're working with your proprioceptor muscles in the bottoms of your feet to give the signals of keeping a balance. Okay, and then again, do this as long as it feels comfortable for you to do it. And when you're ready to release, you just unfold everything. And then there's a part 2 where we're just bringing our fingertips together. We've unhooked our legs, unhooked our arms, and just bringing our fingertips together. And this is basically that same energy that we were talking about with the brain buttons. We're engaging or kind of closing the circuit of what the energy is through the body here. And I keep reminding myself to soften my knees. So I always notice that. And again, it's just noticing how you're doing and okay. So that's the 4 activities. We actually call them the PACE activities. And it's an acronym for positive, active, clear, and energetic. And energetic being the water. So the first thing we did was the water. And then the next thing we did was the clear with those brain buttons. And then the active was the cross crawl. And then the positive is the hookups, bringing these hookups here. So we've done all 4 of those activities. So now we want to take a moment now. You can sit if you care to or stand, however you like to be. And just notice how you're doing on those levels, on the physical level, on the emotional, on the mental, and spiritual. And just go ahead and give yourself a number for where you're at now. And I trust that the folks that are doing via Zoom are participating and just notice how you're doing and give it a number. And then notice if there's a change in that number or if it's the same. So, and I'm just going to ask for rate. Anybody notice that it's the same as before? Anybody notice that it's gone up some? Okay. Anybody notice that it's gone down? Okay, excellent. So the way this model is an educational model, and it's basically, what we're doing in physically with movement to shift how the brain is operating or how we're doing inside of ourselves. So, so to me, it's like I keep thinking of everything we do as neural pathways. So we're always got our neural pathways going, whatever it is that's going on. So we brought a more integrated piece of the neural pathways. Is there a comment in the chat? Great.
One of our chats said their number went up.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. So, and that change is the learning that has taken place. And, I've done this lots of times and worked with people. Sometimes the number goes down. And when we look at it, we notice that there's learning associated with that of something that was still kind of a block for the person to be able to actually come more into that integrated 3-dimensional brain. So the idea here is that we just did probably about 10 minutes of activity, and most of that was me chatting and having you do the same thing. You could do these 4 activities on a regular basis and just any time that you feel like it. You can do them all 4 together, or you can do any of them anytime you feel intuitively, I think I need some brain buttons right now, or I want to do, of course, sipping water is one that I hope we all do all the time. And just notice what kind of difference it makes for you. So that's the intent of those 4 activities. So that's what we use in terms of engaging the brain. That was part of the title here, and bringing some calming. Did anybody notice more calm? Yeah, okay. So it's one of those tools. It's not the only one, of course, but it's definitely another tool to assist in just coming into that place of more centeredness, more calm, more integration in the brain for all 3 dimensions. Now, in terms of like remain, doing the calm piece. It's like anytime we feel any kind of tension, we go into that, it can trigger the tendon guard reflex, because that reflex is still alive in most people on the planet. That's how I understand it. Of course, I haven't done a survey, but it's something that I know I experience. And it can be anything, it used to be real survival, how to be here, but we still have that same reflex, even for things like being anxious about an exam, or about, for me, sometimes it's like driving down to Phoenix and knowing it's going to be snowing tomorrow night when I come back. And it's like, I don't really like driving in the snow. So how do I deal with that? So the opportunity is to do this kind of work, knowing that when the tendon guard reflex gets triggered, our adrenaline starts going, the muscles in the back of the body tighten up. So that's why I keep noticing my knees, that I kept locking them while I'm presenting here today. So the idea is bringing softness into the knees, relaxing those. There's other activities. There's like this 26 activities as part of this model that I work with. And like one of them is just for lengthening the muscles in the back of the body helps de-trigger the reflex. So just by doing this one called the gravity glider. And you're welcome to join me here, or you could do this sitting as well. And basically I just lift up out of my hips and hang down, and just let the muscles in the back of the legs lengthen. And that helps reduce that tension in the legs. Yeah, and it's not a reaching or anything. It's just gravity doing the job. So, and then the same thing on the other side, and that's one way of de-triggering the reflex. One that I've also found very helpful is it's called a calf pump, and it's probably an activity if you ever do warm-ups before hiking or walking or running or any of that, where one leg in front of the other, and you just are pushing forward and toes pointed in, and whoop, and just lengthening the muscle in the back. Anything we can do to lengthen the muscles and is going to help de-trigger that reflex. So, and in the brain, in the hookups that we did, just bringing one foot in front of the other, actually, and bringing soft knees brings that release of that tension as well. That's what my experience has been. So, and that's the idea, because what's happening is the frontal part of the brain is where we process information. The back of the brain is where information comes in, and where it's the survival brain that's doing this, and it's going, am I safe? Everything's safe? Good. Now I can process and think about things. Some people learn how to do that, even under extreme tension or stress. They are able to process because they train the body to mind system to do that. I think of EMT folks and anybody in any kind of stress all the time. They learn how to function well with that in place. And to me, that leads into habits, basically, and choices that we make. And so that's and so habits to me are just neural pathways. And the more we do something, the more the neural pathway gets myelinated, and so that we can learn how to be in stressful situations and still be able to function. But a lot of folks, like folks who take exams here at the college that have test anxiety, when that comes in, they're locked back here in their survival brain, and it just blocks any information coming forward. They can't even read a sentence in the test to actually understand what it means, what is the question here. So the idea is just being able to release that. And some of that, the hookups is intended for that as well, to bring that nice balance between the front and the back. And so The idea is to trigger the stress, and we can do that intentionally, just knowing that we have some tools to do that. So anything that lengthens the muscles in the back of the body typically de-triggers the reflex. And it takes a little bit of time still, of course, for the adrenaline that might have gotten into the system to balance out and go from there. So, excellent. So one of the other things that I told you about juggling. So who out here has always wanted to learn to juggle, but feels like they could never learn to juggle? Anybody? Yes? Excellent. Okay, so you don't know how to juggle. You've always wanted to learn, and now you're ready. But you don't think, what?
Not ready.
But you're willing to learn? Okay, excellent. So, anybody else? Yeah, good. Okay. Move this back this way. So, I like juggling because I did discover, I juggled before I started doing brain work at all. But it was something that I've enjoyed for a long time. And that whole idea of what juggling is, and in the work that I'm doing now in workshops and stuff like that, workshops about habits, workshops about the brain, it really fits right in. And I mentioned that earlier in terms of the left and right, but it's also, it's a habit. It's creating new neural pathways. So come on up. Anybody who wants to do this? And we're gonna get a few things going here. I guarantee, well, I say I guarantee I can teach anybody to learn to juggle. So come on up. And so basically, we're gonna take this scarf here. And when we juggle with scarves, the palm faces down. And I have got it in one hand, my right hand right now. I'm going to swing across my body like this, kind of like sweeping the floor, and then releasing it up, watching and catching with the other hand. Okay, so that's going to be a new neural pathway for y'all. Okay, so we're watching learning taking place. And so up with the right, watching, catch with the left. And notice how I'm catching this scarf. I'm not underhand catching like this. I'm actually clawing it. It's called a claw catch. So up with the right, catch with the left. Up with the left, catch with the right. Okay? So here we go. And go ahead and just start however you want. And I'm going to come over to the side, I guess. We'll do it that way. And now when you release the scarf, think about releasing it over the top. So what I'm doing right now is just giving you feedback about what I'm observing. And the folks who aren't juggling, just observe as well. And when you release it over your head, then you have a lot more time because height and time are directly proportional. And you're bringing it across. And think of the letter X. You're throwing to two different points, the top of the X. Well, I see that I'm out of the thing there. I probably want to be back in here. Sorry. So you think of an X while you're doing this. So left up to the right, watch and catch, right up to the left, watch and catch. And go for a little more height. See if you can, it's kind of like when you release the scarf, you're getting it up into the air. And you could actually bend your knees and give it a little momentum with it, so that we're releasing up into the air. So everything stays above the head, basically. So you can watch it and watch and letting it come down. All right, feels pretty comfortable? How does it feel now, different from when you first threw it?
More sure.
More sure? Okay, yeah, okay. What do you notice?
Like Scarves.
Like you could do 3 more? All right, that's the approach. Okay, so in terms of the habit that you're creating right now, I didn't say, okay, you want to learn to juggle? Here, have 3 scarves, learn to juggle. You know, that would have been too big a thing for the brain to just come into. So the idea here is, and along with habits itself, it's like incremental steps. You start with the first step in the habit. Whatever your goal might be, or whatever your intention is, you start with just the first little piece, something that you can be successful at. So started with one scarf, you became very successful at throwing it. I gave some feedback to you along the way so that there's information, and you changed what you were doing. So that's, you make changes so that you can adjust until you got it the way you wanted to have it. All right, so now we're going to go on to 2. And I'm still holding the scarf pretty much in the middle of the scarf itself, and it doesn't have to be exact or anything like that. So now the next step in learning to juggle is knowing when to make the next throw. So I know when to make the first throw because I'm just starting. So now I'm watching the scarf. When it reaches the highest point, that's my cue to make the second throw. So when it reaches the highest point, second throw. So that's drop, that's a right up, left up, catch, and catch. And you can use the words, saying the words. Go ahead and relax your elbow for now. There we go. Okay. So right up, left up, catch, and catch. Okay. Right up, left up, catch, and catch. So, ready? Okay, there we go. So, just decide which hand you're going to start with, and the same throws as you were doing before. Okay, and I'm watching, and I'm seeing unusual activity, not unusual activity. So, go ahead and stop for a minute. So, I'm going to do one at a time. And so, basically, you're throwing one up, and you're handing one across. So what that tells me is that at one point you tried juggling before, and somebody told you it goes in a circle. So you threw one up and you handed one across. And the cartoons all show that kind of thing. So that's prior information that you have in terms of what juggling is. That's how I understand it. Is that somewhat accurate? Yeah, okay. So the idea here is we're going to create a new neural pathway, which is different. With one scarf, you were doing great. You did right up, watch, catch, left up, watch, catch. There wasn't any handing across. So that just tells me there's an old neural pathway associated with juggling that says hand across. So now you know that. So now the idea is to shift into the new neural pathway, which is up right, up left, or up left, up right, however, whatever you want to start with. And go ahead and relax your arms still. Okay, and it's, so just starting from that place and see how that goes. All right? All right. Now,
I know what I'm doing wrong.
you do? What did you say?
Grabbing with the same hand.
Ah, good observation. Excellent. So, and had you observed before that you were handing across? No. Okay, good. So it's good to understand what you were doing. So, right, you don't have to throw, and then catch. It's just throw right, throw left, catch the one that's coming down, catch the one that's coming down on the same side. Great, good observation, good knowing. Okay, give it a shot. One throw at a time. Tell yourself left up, right up. Okay, did you notice what you did? What did you do? Okay. Well, your second throw is a little lower than your first throw. So that's another thing. You want your second throw to go as high as your first throw. That's information that I hadn't shared yet. So up with the left, up with the right. Whoop. What did you do? Did you notice? Right. So you handed it across. Right. Right. So having the awareness of what we're doing so we can make a shift in it as a step in that process. Perfect. That was great. That was it. You made the shift. Just that quickly, your brain was able to go, new neural pathway, let's shift this. Okay. And let's see again. Up, catch. There it is. You shifted it. Nice. Excellent. Okay. So keep practicing that for a while. You want to get some myelination on this new neural pathway. So go ahead and keep doing it for a little bit more. And then, like, if you can do 10 of those in a row without going to the old neural pathway. Yeah. So this is creating new neural pathways. Now in the brain work that I do, there's another way of doing this that includes some cross crawl activity, but we're yeah.
Does it make a difference? Like I'm left-handed.
You're
So I'm always
left-handed.
having to adjust
Yeah.
because most or right-handed.
Yeah.
So I'm always having to, okay,
Mhm.
can I really start with this one, but my natural.
Yeah.
with my left.
I would recommend starting with your left. To me, the dominance in juggling you can feel it, you can see it, because the non-dominant hand doesn't do as much activity. So the neural pathways associated with that hand aren't as refined. But so starting with your dominant hand is just perfectly fine. In juggling, it doesn't matter.
I kind of have to like, 'cause I see you guys start with the right. and
Okay.
But
All
I,
right.
but it's always the left.
And that's
So I
what,
have to make that adjustment.
right. So for juggling, you don't have to adjust it. Just start with your left. Yeah. Yeah. So left up, and when it reaches peak, right up. There it is, and catch and catch. So left up and right up and catch and catch. Yeah, nice. So it is pretty simple. And you feel comfortable with it? Okay. All right. So remember, releasing up over the head, it's going to make it that much easier. Yes, very nice. Very nice. Let's go ahead. Looking good. Anybody out there on Zoom land juggling? Okay. And let's see, the other part of it is, really up, catch and catch. Whoops. Up, catch and catch. So we're releasing it up in the air, up in the air, up in the air, up in the air, catch, and allowing some space in between so that there's time after the to catch the second one. See, there's still a lot of time to do it. You're not reaching up to catch them both at the same time. There's space in between the catching. Yes, nice, nice. And keeping them nice and close, right up, left up. And using language, using the words, right up, or left up, right up, catch, catch. All right. So what do you think? You think this is doable?
Yes.
Learning to juggle? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, makes a difference.
Have her talking to the
Oh,
mic so
oh,
the
for
Zoom
the
folks
recording.
can hear.
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry.
So the breaking down of the steps helps you like retrain yourself maybe from what you're automatically used to doing.
Right.
That's what I found. And it actually felt really good when I did it right.
Yeah, nice. Excellent. So any comments, sir? Okay. So, and that's the whole thing about the habits is like you do the thing that you can be successful at. And that encourages more success by doing whatever the next step is. It might be 25% bigger than the first step. And like going to 2 scarves was bigger than doing just 1 scarf. So the idea is that it just keeps increasing and it builds on itself whenever we're building a habit. So yeah. So did anybody come with a goal in mind? That was one of the things that we had in the description. And that's fine if nobody did. Okay. But you might think of some goals that you have for yourself. Okay. All right. So 2 is pretty good. Feels pretty good, huh? Feels so much better than when you first started doing the 2. Okay, excellent. All right. Well, we'll consider that the neural pathways have been developed enough to go on to the next step. Okay. And so when we go to 3, you have to learn how to handle 2 scarves in one hand. So what I've done is just taken 1 scarf in my last 2 fingers. And yes, I'm sorry, I could do it that way. We could do it that way, okay? And the other scarf, these 3 fingers, the thumb and the index and middle finger, hold the other scarf. And that way I can throw that one without this one going up in the air. That's all we're trying to do. Don't, instead of getting them both up in the air at the same time. Because again, that would be too much for your brain to handle right now. But so holding one back here and the other one here. So whichever hand you want to start with. And now I'll give you a third scarf and a third scarf. And I'll do a little demo. And basically, I'll do a left hand demo. Okay, so that's there, and here. So I get that first one up in the air. And as soon as I do that, I'm in balance. One in the air and one in each hand. One in the air, one in each hand, one in the air, one in each hand, one in the air, one in each hand. If I bounce a little bit, I get a little more momentum going. And I'm throwing to the tops of the X. So I'm making an X with my arms, swinging across. Okay, so just nice and easy, one at a time. And tell yourself, left up, right up, left up, right up. And just see what happens at this point. Okay. Okay, let's, there we go. We'll all watch you. So, just one throw at a time, same throws you've been making. When it reaches the peak, that's your cue to make the next throw. Soften the knees. Right up, left up, right up, left up. There it is. There it is. All right. Excellent. All right. You know how to juggle.
It's harder than it
Want to do? Let's get the mic for you. Just for the folks that are on Zoom.
It's harder than it looks.
Juggling in this room actually is a little bit harder because there's a lot of air pressure coming down. So getting the scarf up, I mean, I've actually noticed this when I've juggled in here before. So it's true, but you're doing great. Look at that, getting those scarves up in the air above your head. Excellent. That's fabulous. Okay, so again, remember, just relax. It's just one throw at a time, what you've already been doing. With the two, there was a stop associated with it. You did a left up, right up, catch, stop. So now it's not stopping. It's left up, right up, left up, right up, left up, right up. Just one at a time. All right, that was excellent. That was like 4 throws. And just me doing my feedback, they were down here. So if you get them up higher, see, then they're above you and it's easier to grab them. They're in the air. Yeah. That's it. There it is. Yeah. That got you an extra throw. And the tendency is that folks will start, the throws don't go as high. So you want to keep them up in the air. All right. There must be tricks going on over here. Go ahead, keep going. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Left up and right up and left up and right up and left up. That's excellent. Nice work. Look at this. Awesome. Yes. That's it. Keep going. Oh, yeah. All right. I love it. Nice work. Good job. So, and of course, in juggling, there's so many variations and all that kind of stuff. And that, like the little bit of step at a time, breaking it down, like you said, that's the idea behind it. If you break it down into the throws that are part of it, then you can learn the next thing. Like doing 2 in one hand would be a next thing. So I'm just doing what's called column throws. Whoops. It's going straight up and down on inside and outside. And so that creates a new neural pathway that you teach yourself. And once it feels comfortable, then you can incorporate it into something like this. Something like that. Just getting engaged. So you can see 50 years of neural pathways. I know that I can pick it up and bring it back into a routine. When you're first learning, it's like, dang. But you build it up. Okay. So, yeah, big round for these people. Yeah, all kinds of opportunities. Thank you so much. Nice work. Okay, so similar to the habits, so as we're building a new habit, that's what we do. We do step at a time, and we think about. So if you had something in your life that you wanted to add into your life right now, like a new habit, does everybody have one in mind, or can come up with one? Something you've been wanting to do that you haven't incorporated yet. So the idea here is like the idea of living life with ease, something like that. That's part of the workshop here, is or the lecture. Is that so? What could I do in my life that would bring more ease in? Would it be taking some time to do some meditation, or do some prayer, or doing some exercise? However anybody finds ease in their life. What are those things that you can do that would increase that? So everybody got an idea? Anybody want to share what their goal might be? Anybody online?
I would say, how can you find ease in the middle of like chaos? Like you don't
Okay.
have maybe what you want to have in order, but you still want to be at ease.
Okay. So that's a good one. I was thinking of it this morning when I was reading the news. And it's like, whoa, life could change dramatically. And it does for a lot of people. Life shifts quite abruptly sometimes. And so I thought of that, and it was for myself. And it was like, okay, so do I stop reading the news? Do I just decide that all I can really affect is where I'm at and how I respond to what's going on, and continue doing my meditation, the work that I do, and whatever it might be, that I might choose the thing that brings ease to me, so that I can accept that, okay, so in the bigger picture where people are making decisions that I don't have control over, it's like I can only control myself. And this has been said by lots of different people. So Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl was the author of that. And he was a German prisoner. And that's what he realized in his captivity, that he could only respond the way he wanted to respond. And he only had control over what he chose to think about, be, and kind of person he wanted to be. And speaking of kind of person, the habits, I've been working out of the book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And that particular book, he talks about identity-based habits. So I'm the kind of person who loves to juggle. So I put juggling into my world by teaching people how to juggle, or however I do that. And so building identity-based habits is what he recommends, that you have an intention about who you are and who you might want to be that you haven't reached there. So setting that kind of intention or goal. So the identity based, I'm the kind of person who, so, and if you did come up with a goal idea, it's like, what would that be for you right now? I'm the kind of person who, and how would you answer that for yourself? And so I'm the kind of person who knows it's going to be snowing tomorrow, and that's okay. I'll just take good care on the road. I don't have to be all worried about it all day today and all day tomorrow until I'm in it and through it, So, and how do I create that as a habit? So I have to watch my self-talk. That's how I think about it for myself. It's like, anytime I think that this is anytime I hold a negative image of what could happen, I replace it with a positive image of, yeah, that's a possibility, but it's unlikely that that'll happen. The probability is low. Possibility is there, probability is low. So for me, that would be a habit of self-talk myself through that anytime that comes up. And there's other things I could do with that as well in terms of long range, continuing to build my positive self-talk about images and fears that I've had in the past, so that instead of that old neural pathway coming in, handing across, that I continue on with, yeah, everything's fine. Right now, everything's perfect. I'm good right here. You know, so yeah. So in terms of your own individual goals, do you have an idea of what your smallest step would be? And when we talk about smallest step, it would be like a 2-minute thing. So like one of the things that I do is creating a new exercise program for myself, where I go out and I say, okay, twice a week, I'm going to do this little 15-minute routine of exercise. And what's the first step in that? And so I came up with, the night before, I'm going to put my clothes out that I use for my gym workout. And that's if I do that, then I've been successful in achieving my goal. Even though that's not my end goal, you know, my end goal is to do it every day. But my first goal is putting my clothes out the night before, because that's just a little 2-minute thing. It's not the whole workout. But once I put my clothes out, I wake up the next morning, I see my clothes, I put them on, and I go out and I exercise. I love this comment, motivation. A lot of people feel like, I'm not motivated. And motivation begins with the first step. You have to start. And as soon as you start, just that second of starting something, that's when the motivation comes in. So it's showing up and for that one moment, for that first moment, so that the actual motivation comes in after that. And of course, the idea of the whole intention is to achieve what you want. So if you're going like, well, I'm just pretending, you know, that kind of thing. It's like, well, maybe that's not the goal or the intention that you want to be working with. But, you know, come up with those things that are important and go from there. So any ideas or questions at this point? Yeah.
So would you say that it's fair to assume that,
Say that one
so
more time.
is it fair to say that the security you were talking about with the back of the brain,
Mhm.
that's kind of our default setting that gives us security. And that's why we have these like patterns that we're already performing that may not actually be helpful, right? And so if we're wanting to change that pattern, we have to slow down and create awareness so that there's some space and then make a different change. So like your example of like a student with test anxiety would still be in the moment and in the panic and not able to actually activate a new pathway to like slow down long enough to like throw a scarf up and catch it. So the object of the crossbody is so that you can slow things down, pay attention enough so that you actually have the possibility of creating a new pathway.
Right. Yeah. And yes, I heard everything, and I agree that the idea is, you know, having some tools that can bring the awareness to what is taking place and being able to shift it. So that takes the practice, and for each individual, it would be, you know, different in terms of how long it might take. But and there's other tools as well. You know, there's more tools even in the brain work that I participate in, as well as, you know, lots of tools out there. You know, some people, it might be doing meditation every day brings them a reminder so that before they go into an exam, they can do it. Or they start the practice of being prepared by doing all the work so that building up that confidence of being prepared. Somebody else might be doing a 10-minute walk before an exam to get the oxygen flowing and the brain relaxed, and so that when you go in, that relaxation is there. There's a lot of different techniques for everybody, and each person's going to pick the one that works for them. But the idea of these 4 activities, the PACE activities, is to bring that balance in so that there is good flow and recognition of what is present. How am I doing right now? What's my pace? What's my number that I'm at right now? And is there something I can do to increase that number so that I'm more in balance? So
Kind of like this woman's question or goal, kind of a goal, to create ease and chaos. So like, it sounds like maybe these cross-body exercises can help in the moment of chaos so that you can step back and slow things down a little bit.
I think the way you described it works really well. You know, the idea of slowing it down so you can observe what's there and then being able to respond from that rather than being a reflex from that. So that's the idea of it. And so, and it's something to practice. Okay. And there's another activity. We got a few minutes. It's called the positive points. And prior to positive points, and from the work that I'm doing, I actually learned this as part of my massage work, and it was called emotional stress release. And there's like 2 points. You put your fingers right above your eyes at the point where your forehead and your scalp meet. So like about right here, you know, that kind of thing. And just, it's not a massage like we did on the brain button points. It's almost as if you're not touching. Okay. So while holding these points, and this would be an activity to do on a regular basis, just to prepare and be able to move into that place of ease during chaos. And while we're holding these points, what we're doing is considering and allowing any thoughts that come up about whatever the dis-ease is. Okay, so if you're thinking about everything that's happening in the world or whatever the dis-ease is in your own, or chaos is in your own life, you just allow all of that to come up. You just let it come up, whether, you know, any thoughts, because that's the stuff that's holding us back in the survival brain. And this is all in terms of the science on it, Dr. Russo? She's one of our instructors here in the psychology, and she knows all the science of the brain. Okay, but my understanding of it is that by holding these points, which I see as the frontal processing part of the brain, and allowing what's holding us back from being at ease, we just allow that to come up. So any thoughts that come up, anybody that I really don't like that person very much, and I wish they'd stop doing that, and in this situation, or it might be, you know, like if it were a test exam, it's like the first time I took a test in 3rd grade, and I got nervous, then I got tight, and my stomach started to hurt, and you know, whatever it is, just allowing all of that to come up so that it can come out, basically. And this is just one technique for doing that, you know, to just hold like in these points, and at the same time having your goal in front of you, knowing what your goal is, and just keep bringing that in as well. And my goal is this, all these things, is there anything else in the way of my goal? So just allowing that processing to take place. And maybe there's forgiveness that comes up with it, or any judgments that were placed out, just allowing it all to just bubble up, just bring it up, let it come up. And that's another way of practicing coming into that place of ease, you know, so that I can be there, you know, whatever the situation might be. I can respond to it the way I want to respond to it.